Hey there, I want to offer you guys a quick start to my program. I know you're excited, you're going to jump right in, but let's get you started right away because the most important thing is starting to collect data. Without data, we can't make educated changes. So if you can start tracking right away, then you could take the next week or two kind of going through the literature and seeing, what changes you need to make and identifying what things that speak to you and help your situation. So the first thing you need to do, print out the accelerator sheet off of the links page. Print out a bunch. I like them printed out. I mean, you can fill it out online, but I like it printed out because it kind of stays with you a little bit more. You can handwrite in. I like a lot of notes. I think it's helpful to give yourself notes to say, hey, this didn't work, or hey, I'm going to work on this in the future. So print it out, keep it with you, keep it on your nightstand, keep it at your desk, and it takes about 30 seconds a day to fill out, and then you have just weekly questions at the end. So to go through it real quick, the first thing on there is sleep. If you get 7 hours or more, it's a 2. If you get less than 7 hours that night, it was a 1. That's it. It's just black and white. Don't overthink it. We're just looking for major gaps, major trends. The second one you'll see on there, meal frequency. Meal frequency is how many meals and how many snacks you're going to have in a day. You get to decide. So while I think sleep is 7 hours, yes or no, meal frequency is something you get to decide. With meal frequency, you have to choose what's going to work for your schedule. So if you tell me you're going to have 6 meals a day and you work a busy job where you can't really prep food or buy food, it's not going to happen. So the first thing you need to do is decide based on your schedule how many meals and how many snacks is ideal. It's different for all of us. There's no truth to the fact that 6 meals a day burns more calories or less meals slows your metabolism. That isn't true. You need to pick what works for you. So if you're the type of person who likes just a couple big meals, that's awesome. We're going to go with it. If you like more frequent meals, that's cool too. If you really have no idea, I'm going to push you towards 3 meals or 3 meals and 1 snack. As long as the snack is planned, it's not going to hurt you. Snacking when unplanned and sort of without thinking and mindless snacking, we call it, adds to a lot more calories and a lot more food you don't need. So at the top of the sheet, you're going to see a spot that says meal frequency goal. You need to fill that out right away. Now on the sheet, it'll say meal frequency, 1 or 2. Put a 1 down if that day you didn't hit your goal on meal frequency. Let's say you chose 3 meals and you ended up having a couple extra snacks. Put a 1. It's not necessarily bad or good, it's just a conversation. It's just something to point out to you that, hey, either this isn't working or we need to work on strategies, not to snack or add or subtract a meal. So really important to pick that first. Whatever your meal frequency is fine. We could always change it in the future. Now, if you find that your schedule is different Monday through Friday compared to the weekend, choose a meal frequency that's going to work for you Monday through Friday and choose a meal frequency that's going to work for you in the weekend. A common one is 3 meals during the week, 2 meals and maybe a snack on the weekend because those meals might be higher calorie or might include some alcoholic beverages. You get to decide. Just pick something that works best for your schedule and we can work around that. Without having a meal structure, it's hard to make any other changes because you're kind of eating all over the place. And it also helps, it's difficult to plan, it's difficult to do all those things without having a set meal frequency. So that's really number 1, especially for weight loss. Now the next one you'll see on the sheet is planning. And it just goes right across here, just 1, 2, 1, 2, Monday through Friday. Super easy. Planning, a 1, if you didn't plan anything and you sort of stumbled through your day. A 2, if you planned at least 24 hours in advance what you were going to eat. Now, if you let's say you planned for tomorrow, and tomorrow comes and you had to switch something out, still put a 1, but in the notes section put, hey, you know what? I didn't hit my plan, but I made a really good substitution. Here's what worked. Because really what we're doing with this whole system is making a collection for you of what works and what doesn't work. This way you can decide what you need to do and what you don't need to do. You kind of cut out the noise of the diet industry. So you're creating your perfect plan as you go while you're getting results. So on planning, a 1 if you did not plan anything and you kind of stumbled through your day. A 2 if you planned for at least 24 hours in advance and you did exactly what you said you would. To me, this replaces food journaling. It's sort of like you're food journaling in advance. Instead of being retroactive, here's what I ate, it wasn't great. This is saying, here's what I'm going to have tomorrow. And it makes it a lot easier to follow a food journal if it was done in advance. It's hard to change it, and you don't want to put something that you didn't have when you could have made that choice. So it just helps you along that journey of planning in advance, making a decision before you're hungry, before you're in the moment, so that you could just kind of follow a blueprint when you're hungry, when you're emotional. After that, you're going to see portion. Now, with weight loss, portion and meal frequency are top 2 priorities. Portion needs to be that whatever meal you had previously has to carry you almost to the next meal or almost to the next snack. So let's say you have breakfast at 8 and you have lunch at 12. You can't be hungry at 10 a.m. because you're going to start snacking. It happens to me, if I change a food or try something different, it happens all the time. If you're hungry at 10 a.m., you're going to reach for foods that you don't need, and you're going to reach in more quantities that you don't need. So breakfast needs to take you from about 8 a.m. when you eat it to about 11:30, 11:15, about a half hour to 45 minutes before your next meal. So I like that you're hungry before your next meal. You should be hungry before your next meal, but it shouldn't be hours before. Likewise, I don't want that breakfast at 8 to keep you're so stuffed that you don't even want lunch. That's not good either. So in either scenario, if it either left you hungry too fast or it left you overstuffed, put a 1. It didn't work. And now this is for the whole day. So this could be, you could hit 2 other meals perfectly. If 1 wasn't right, just put a 1 down. And in the note section, write a note to yourself, hey, here's what I had, here's what didn't work about it. Now this is really important because we're not counting calories or we're not doing any weighing on a scale or anything. But if a meal doesn't take you to the next meal, we need to know why. So then we can experiment. We can say, okay, can we add some protein to that? Can we add some carbohydrate to that? Could we add some fat? Or if it left you overstuffed, maybe there's something we can take away from that meal. This way, after 3 or 4 weeks, you sort of know exactly what portions you need, and you know exactly in what types of foods, and we don't need to know grams on carbohydrate or protein or fat, but we sort of want to have an idea of what's going to keep you full and what's not going to keep you full. This is super important, especially if you begin an exercise program, because let's say you eat a certain way and then you begin an exercise program. Your hunger levels are going to go up. So instead of being on some strict plan where you can only eat this amount of calories, your body's going to tell you, hey, that same meal that's been getting you to the next meal isn't going to do it anymore. Let's up the protein, or let's up the carbohydrate a little bit, and we can sort of experiment. So again, a 1 if it didn't work, and what works, by what I mean what works is that meal should carry you to the next one appropriately, and you should be hungry a little bit before the next meal. That's all. So this is when you can decide, okay, this is a problem. I can't really eat that much. Let me add a snack. So you could always change your meal frequency, but we're using data to do it. So you just put it right across the street, 1 or 2, and that's all we're going to have every day. It's just a quick 1, 2. Now, second to last, we have quality. Quality is going to be one of those things that's relative to you. I can't tell you to be a vegan or a paleo or Atkins. It's really up to you, and especially in cases where it's your values and your morals. If whatever you decide that you don't want to eat or you can eat, or if you want to eliminate a food group, that's your decision. Quality to me means that relative to what I do, this is a quality food. So if I'm always eating fresh vegetables, fresh local vegetables, pasture-raised meat, and I go to McDonald's and eat a cheeseburger, I'm probably going to put a 1, which means relative to me, unhealthy. A 2 is about average. So whatever you like to do. Let's say you're a vegan and you just have an average vegan meal. You have, some plant-based protein, some vegetables, and let's say some quinoa. That would be a 2. Let's say you exceeded that expectation, really nailed it, had some great meal. It was all local, fresh, maybe put a 3. It's all relative. I really don't care how you score it as long as you score it consistently. So I want to look for, is quality of food an issue, and why is it an issue? Maybe you have to eat out all the time because you're busy. Maybe that comes back to planning. I just want to know that relative to your values, are you eating healthy meals or not? And that could be a discussion down the line of what could be healthy, what could not be healthy. But this is food religion, and it's hard to convince you or anybody else of, well, maybe this or that is good or bad. We all have our own sense of what is healthy. Just keep track of what it is relative to you. And the last one is exercise. A 1, I didn't do anything all day. I sort of just watched football or watched TV. A 2, I would consider you had an active day or you didn't have an active day but you did a workout. So you walked around a lot, you walked on your lunch break, and you're on your feet. That would be a 2. A 3 is when you have a workout and you are active. So you're pretty much on your feet all day doing stuff and you got a workout in. Again, not bad or good. We all need our 1 day type of days to kind of relax, and we all need our 3 type of days to really get in the groove and get to our goals. What we're looking for after about 2 or 3 weeks of data is, if everything else is really kind of on point, 2s and 3s, maybe exercise is all 1s. Maybe exercise is your gap. So that's really the major thing here, is just getting those categories tracked, picking your meal frequency, and then you have weekly questions at the bottom. What do you need to work on? So you can look back at your week before and say, okay, here's some obvious gaps. And maybe you need to work on that for next week. Maybe there's strategies you need to find to help you with that. What went well? Pick out, maybe you hit your meal frequency goals. Maybe it wasn't perfect quality, but it went well because you hit your meal frequency goals. Pick something that you did well. I don't like focusing on just negative things. Focusing on things you do well will help kind of get that momentum going. And then what are you grateful for? I think that's a super important question, because we lose track of these things. There's always things we don't like about ourselves, and there's things that we want to work on, but there's a lot of people who have it probably worse than we do, and just what are you grateful for? It could be food related, it could just be family related, anything you want. I just want to get positive momentum going. So that's the quick start guide. Just get started tracking, and then when you're done tracking after a week, you'll use the graph that we provide that you can start entering in your numbers. So if you're using weight as a measurement of your success, or energy levels, or body fat, whatever it may be, you enter in that number on one column, and you enter in your total points for the week on the other column. So after about 3 weeks of data, we can start to see some line graphs and exactly where things are trending. Have fun, and make sure you get tracking, but also make sure you go through the rest of it and really understand the system.